Hello, and welcome to Around the County. I'm your host, Council Chair Todd Turner. I'm excited to introduce you to two of my colleagues serving on the County Council. Vice Chairman Rodney C. Streeter, who represents District 7, and Council Member from District 5, Jolene Ivey. Both are serving in their first four-year terms on the County Council. I can't wait for you to meet them, my new colleagues here on Around the County. Stay with us and hear their stories and learn more about how they are serving the residents of Prince George's County. The next edition of Around the County comes your way in just a moment.
You made her college years possible, opening that education savings account when she was little, spearheading campus tours, and deciphering financial aid. If you can ace planning for college, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome to Around the County, a Prince George's County Council production. Take the journey, celebrate our communities, engage with us. We're working together to deliver service to our residents, to build thriving communities, and to make progress in Prince George's County. It's time now for Around the County, service, community, progress, with your host, Council Chair Todd M. Turner.
And thank you for tuning in to Around the County. This is a program produced by the Prince George's County Council. I'm your host, Council Chair Todd Turner. The Honorable Rodney C. Streeter was sworn in last December and is now serving in his first four-year term as a member of the County Council from District 7. Councilmember Streeter is also serving in my leadership position with the Council for this legislative year as Vice Chair. I'm very pleased to welcome Vice Chair Rodney Streeter to Around the County. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good. I appreciate you being here. I know we've shared a lot of time together over the last few months as both chair and vice chair. So how's that transition been over that last 6 months or so?
Well, it's been great so far. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership, bringing me along in my new role. And I'm so glad that we got to know each other as both former staffers before we joined the council. So there was already that relationship there. So it's been a great transition so far.
Good. So obviously, having been a former staff member and a chief of staff in the legislative branch, explain how that transition has occurred a little bit, coming from behind the scenes and now having to be the decision maker as part of that.
Well, you know, coming onto the council as an elected official, you did have the advantage of understanding some of the processes, and you had an opportunity to develop relationships which are important to you being successful in the role. Probably the greatest change, though, has been more philosophical. You're now in charge of a vision for your district, and you've got to usher in resources that meet the need of your community, working alongside of them. And so you've got to buy into that vision as well as get your community to buy in. So that's a different way of viewing this whole role.
So yours is a little bit different path because you actually served as a chief of staff in a different district as part of that to the one that you're representing as a council member. So how has it been over the last several months to get to know, in essence, a new district, because you served a different district, even though you lived in another one and now represent another one?
Well, it does make a difference if you're coming to a new district that you haven't spent the last 10 years, the majority of your time in the last 10 years. So I'm still getting to know some of the leadership. I've spent a great deal of time in the community doing that, but not as much as I want to. And some of it's because of the challenges faced by the new roles, particularly in leadership, and as we go through the budget process that we're going in, it's just demands so much of your time. So I plan to really pick up that effort after we pass our budget at the end of this month.
Now, that's an interesting perspective, because even I, as a new member, having had some experience in the legislative branch, did not take on a leadership role right away as part of that process. So tell us a little bit about what your vision is, not only for your district, but also for your role as the vice chair of the council this year.
Well, first of all, I feel very honored that my colleagues would select me in this role. It's such an honor to be not only placed there by my colleagues, but in my very first term. Right. I had settled upon the notion that I would get really acclimated my first year in the on the council. But I think what I think I can glean from this first year working under the chair is a better understanding of how decisions are made by the council. And so I look forward to learning more intimately these processes, and that's what I'm able to do, as well as, I think that benefits my district a lot better, that I'm in a position where I have some say-so as to, what direction the council takes.
Gotcha. So was there any transition from having been a staff member to how you now treat the staff of the legislative branch and how they treat you? Has there been that little change about, before you were a part of them, now you're in a different position? Is that you feel any of that change as part of that?
Well, there have been some attempts by staff to try and change the relationship, but I push back on that.
Okay.
I view us as a team, and staff is an integral part of what we do here. Everybody's role is very necessary and important. And I'm just a member of the team too. I'm just assigned a role on this team just like they are.
Gotcha. So tell us a little bit about your district, some of the issues and concerns that you've been able to hear about during the last, either during the campaign or obviously now that you're in the office. Anything in particular that you'd like to work on in your community?
Yeah, I think resoundingly we've heard that we need to put more efforts on cleanliness in my community. And the county executive, Angela also Brooks, has also heard that call, and she's responded by, some creative measures to deal with two-day trash and a more robust cleanup litter program. I want in particular to put emphasis on my gateways, and I was able to get in our joint signature letter to the state an obligation from them to spend some more resources at our gateways. I think it's very important that we introduce people into our county the right way, and that we set the right tone when we get here. So.
Okay. So let's not assume that everybody in the county knows what areas you represent. So why don't you tell us what areas you represent?
District 7 it's Suitland, it's Hillcrest Heights and Marlow Heights, Capitol Heights, District Heights, and towns of Seat Pleasant and Morningside and Capitol Heights.
Good. So tell us a little bit about some of the any initiatives that you're thinking of bringing as part of this council, even though you talked about it being kind of the learning year in your first year, and obviously having the added responsibility of the leadership. I know that may limit your time to be able to do those, but what kind of, other than the cleanliness issue, any other issues that you'd like to address?
Yeah, one of the things that I heard, I have an aging community in terms of the housing stock. A lot of residents have expressed the need to be able to age in place in their community. So this budget cycle, I would like to see more additional resources put in place, not only help them make changes to their properties to accommodate their new health challenges, but also to be able to maintain these properties as they have challenging income situations.
Right. I mean, I think one of the most difficult thing is getting the information out to people of what's available to them. I know that in some programs at the state level, also at the county level, that a lot may address some of the concerns that you're raising as part of that, but we have a very, we're not as efficient as we should be to getting that message out so people can take advantage of those. So in addition to new programs, there might be opportunities for them to utilize programs that are already existing as well. Yeah,
I think there is some of that, although I just don't think that there is enough resources out there to meet the needs.
Okay. Yeah, resources. As you're discovering through our budget process now, there are a lot of demands and needs, not necessarily all the resources that we think we need or think we may deserve as part of that. So tell me a little bit about how you're attacking the budget process this year as the vice chairman.
Well, as much time as I can, I'm spending reading the budget. I'm certainly meeting with my colleagues because we have some interest that crossover jurisdictions that we've been able to partner on because many of the residents' concerns are the same. Right. And so we have sort of pooled together some of our requests to make sure that we can accommodate the residents' concerns, and meeting with agencies during our oversight process, and then talking to them on the side about some of the characteristics of our community's needs from their perspective, since I'm new to the council to some extent. And talking to the administrator, the county executive, Angela also Brooks, about some of my top priorities, and having her consider them as she prepared the budget and as they make cuts in the budget.
Good. So as is kind of our tradition now in the council, the vice chairman generally also chairs the General Assembly Committee. And some might call that the committee trial by fire as part of that. But however, obviously under your leadership this past year, it's fair to say that we had a very successful General Assembly session working with the county executive, our delegations both in the House and the Senate as part of that. So what was your experience? So that I'm not sure that you had that kind of experience prior as a staff person, although you know a lot of people, obviously, given your years of service. So how did you feel chairing that committee and the work that committee did this year? Well,
I think it got better as time went on. You're right. I didn't spend a lot of time emphasizing General Assembly issues as a staffer, but as the chair, as the vice chair this year, we did have a very productive year. I had a great committee. We had a great team of people working in Annapolis on our behalf, our consultants and lobbyists, and so we were able to deliver, I think, some good things on behalf of the residents. We brought back $1.4 billion, $1.5 billion additional resources this year, and the county executives team were, very instrumental in working alongside of us on those efforts. So I thought we had a pretty successful year.
Okay. No, I would agree, and I want to thank you for your leadership as part of that. That's one of the committees I decided to stay on, given having chaired it last year and understanding, some of the issues that were going to continue to be issues. And so I appreciate your leadership as part of that process as well. So tell me about your service on your other committees. So which committees are you serving on, and what has been your experience with that as well?
Well, government ops and fiscal policy is the only other committee that I'm a member of. I deliberately decided that I didn't want to put too much on my plate this year, but the reason why I chose that committee was for the oversight possibilities with the government agencies. It's been a great experience looking at the agencies and taking a deeper dive into the operations of government. We've made a couple of appointments to new directors in the administration, and now we're currently doing our budget oversight mostly. So it's been a learning experience, just looking into these agencies and digging in to see how they operate and how they're spending taxpayers' important dollars.
Good. So you do have a motto for your office, I understand. What's the motto, and what's the basis for it?
Putting people first.
Okay.
I think that's what government service is. It's about everybody except the person who's actually in office. And so, I came up with that motto as a constant reminder, not just to me, but anybody who's associated at the time with the campaign or in my office, that they must understand that we're here to serve people, and they're first in everything we do.
Well, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I appreciate your joining me today as well. We'll take a short break, but don't go away. We'll return in just a moment with another of my County Council colleagues, the Honorable Jolene Ivey, will join us on Around the County right after this.
It's okay to be scared. You don't have to be so strong.
Strength is not optional. This is my mother, my purpose. Real muscle is lifting her spirits between bedpans and bad news from doctors that doubt her strength. Strength is buried in bills, managing meds, and swallowing those moments of, Mom, it's me, your daughter. Remember? My strength is super, but I'm still human, right?
Look who's here. There she is. Thanks for your patience.
How you feel?
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 1-877-333-5885.
All right, welcome back to Around the County. This is a production of the Prince George's County Council. I'm Council Chair Todd Turner, your host. Joining me now is Council District 5 member Jolene Ivey. She's also serving in her first four-year term on the County Council after previously serving as a Prince George's County delegate in Annapolis. Thank you so much, Councilmember Ivey, for taking your time to join us today on Around the County.
Thanks
Welcome.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Good. So how has been your experience transitioning from your past experience now to being a member of the Prince George's County Council?
You know, I have to tell you, it's been a big difference, mainly because of the size of the family involved, right? Because in the House of Delegates, I was one of 141. And if there was somebody you didn't get along with, no big deal. There are plenty of other people to hang out with. Right. But when it comes to the County Council, there are only 11 of us. So you really can't be too particular. You have to definitely see the good in everyone. Right. And fortunately, there is good in all of us.
Good. No, but that's definitely true. Yeah. And you know, each of us have our strengths, our experience as part of that. Obviously,
our idiosyncrasies.
That as well.
I certainly have mine.
But obviously, you came to the council with a load of experience before this. Obviously, serving in Annapolis. Obviously, your professional life as well. So tell us a little bit about what you did before you actually got to be on the county council.
Well, for the 16 years before I was in the House of Delegates, I was home with my children. Mm-hmm. So I, was at-home mom for 16 years. Before that, I had been press secretary for Ben Cardin. Mm-hmm. When I was in the House of Delegates, it was a big change for us because up until that point, my family was pretty used to having me at their beck and call. Yeah. And it was a big shock to the system when my husband had to learn how to cook and had to learn where the doctor's office was and where the children's friends, lived. And it was a big difference for them. Mm-hmm. I think it was a great difference for their relationship with each other because although my husband and sons, they all certainly have always loved each other, they got to know each other in a deeper way. Mm-hmm. So it was good for all of us, I think, for me to take that on. Gotcha. After 8 years in the House of Delegates, I ran for lieutenant governor. Mm-hmm. It was an experience. I can't say that I would do it again, but I don't regret having done it. Sure. It was something that not a lot of people get to do, run statewide, meet people from all over the state, and talk about issues a lot different than what we have right here in Prince George's County. So I enjoyed that experience. Of course, my candidate and I lost, and I had 4 years to regroup and do other things, which I also enjoyed. I had a lot more free time. It's amazing. My husband and I would look at each other sometimes and say, what are we going to do? Because the kids have gotten older. Right. They don't need us as much. Mm-hmm. And at least they need our money, but they don't need our time as much. And so anyway, when I decided to run for council, I really wanted to bring some of my life experiences, not just in the House of Delegates, which is certainly important, but as a mom, and bring it to the council. And it was a great opportunity. I'm not a fan of term limits, but I'm grateful for them to be in this seat today.
Gotcha. So even while you were what we would consider a stay-at-home mom, you weren't not necessarily just doing that too. You also established an organization for mothers just like you. And so tell us a little bit about Mocha Moms.
When I was home with my kids, I had many years to hang out with my children, and you get kind of lonely. And I really needed more adult interaction. I did have friends who were home with their children who were white, and I value those relationships. But the way of raising children when you're a white parent are very different when you're black and you have black sons, particularly, to raise. So I really needed some mothers who would understand me, understand my jokes, understand the way I had to discipline my children and why I wouldn't allow them to pick up food in the grocery store and eat it. It was just a different mindset. And I have a very close friend who's Jewish, who is a writer, and I talked to her about how frustrated I was that all my black friends were going back to work. I didn't have any more black at-home moms who were friends. And she said that I should start a newsletter and call it Mocha Moms, and it would give me a way to meet other moms like myself. So a girlfriend and I did just that, and in a few short months, we had so many people who wanted it to be an organization that we connected with 2 of them, and the 4 of us got together very regularly with our children. It was like a big play group every week. And the blueprint we set up at that time is what it pretty much is today, so 21 years later. And I think the biggest change at this point, and of course I'm not really involved anymore, but the biggest change at this point, it's no longer focused only on at-home mothers of color, and it's always been more open than that. I mean, I remember having this, this white guy from College Park was once the president of the College Park chapter. He did a great job. He and his wife had adopted a little girl from Guatemala, I think, and he wanted to make sure that she had other children of color around her. But now it's focused just moms of color, doesn't matter if you're home or not.
Okay. So how did that experience kind of inform your legislative agenda, both in Annapolis and now as a member of the county council?
When I was chair of the House Committee on Children, Youth, and Families, the House chair, there's also a Senate chair, I found out about this home visiting program that is national. There's money that goes to fund it from the federal government. And I found out through this committee that Prince George's County wasn't getting our fair share. And although I was a state...
Sounds like a little bit of a refrain, right?
And this might come as a shock to you, but Baltimore City was getting the lion's share. And I remember Senator Benson was also on that committee, and she and I joined forces. And I tell you what, if you want somebody who's going to call people to task, have Senator Benson on your side. Boy, between the 2 of us, she was able to put the fear of God into people, and I was able to help get an agreement where Prince George's County did get more of the money we're entitled to. Great. And that is a great program. And as a matter of fact, the Prince George's Child Resource Center is still putting that program on. Yeah, and we're trying to expand it right now.
Great. So for those who aren't familiar with the council district, tell us what areas you serve within your council district.
Well, part of it starts down at the Port Towns area, and that would include Comer Manor, Cottage City, Bladensburg, and Edmonston, and it goes straight up 202 to include Cheverly, part of Landover Hills, Landover, and then Palmer Park, over by the stadium, and over into Glenarden and part of Bowie. So
I appreciate that. So what are, obviously you're a resident of the district, but are there particular issues coming out of the district that you've been able to learn more about, I guess, over the last several months in your council position?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing that I've been focused on as far as a district issue, the inner Beltway community that I represent. And the district is very different whether it's inside or outside the Beltway. I live inside the Beltway. I'm more familiar with those issues in some way because when I was in the House of Delegates, that's the same part of the district that I represented. There's a lot of industrial sites there, and from a county council perspective, you look at development and you have to see how is the industrial part of our county impacting the residential, and sometimes they don't really coexist very well. Yes. So I want to make sure that people are able to live healthy lives, and sometimes what's in the industrial areas doesn't help with that. So we're trying to work on ways to make sure people are breathing clean air, make sure that we have clean water. And I think that that's so important. I think that inside the Beltway it's more acute. Outside the Beltway, I get a lot more complaints about things like in new developments, like the stormwater ponds. When a new development goes up and the developer has maybe not finished the development, those ponds, if they're not taken care of correctly, they really become a problem. So those are issues that I never had to know about or think about, and now I'm definitely on them.
Gotcha. So I understand you also have interest in food-related issues as well, both I think food trucks as well as access to food. How do you think you'll be able to address those kind of issues in your role as a council member?
I've been working with the Economic Development Corporation. They've been really working hard on this issue, and they've really taken the lead on pulling together a committee that's looking at food trucks and access to healthy foods, because there are, as we know, areas in our county that we call food deserts. It's usually areas where the income is lower and the access to grocery stores also more difficult. So I'm hoping that while we're working on how to get more grocery stores into these areas, how can we use food trucks to do it? I mean, people do like to eat food that's already cooked. I know I'm one of them. But if these food trucks are, if we can find a way to allow them to serve those areas, but they'd be required to bring healthy foods, then I think that is, I think that's a great way to help marry those two issues.
Oh, great. So just curious, obviously having served in Annapolis and now, briefly in comparison serving at the county level, what's your biggest distinction other than, there are more people in Annapolis than there are on the county council, but
size matters.
Yeah, it does as part of that. But any other differences that, not that you have to have a preference between the two, but I'm just curious.
I would say that having term limits on the county council side and not having term limits on the state side, I can see the difference. I think the staff has a lot more power when there are term limits, because the staff, as you know, may have served for much longer than the member, and therefore has those relationships that you and Councilman Streeter were talking about, and just have more ability to get things done. And it can be kind of upside down to me. I don't know that people think about that when they vote to keep term limits. On the other hand, in Annapolis, some people shouldn't stay as long as they do, I'm not going to lie. But just the fact that you have so many people who have served a number of years means you have a lot of people who've outserved the staff. Right. And so therefore, I believe there's a little more power in Annapolis.
Because of longevity.
I do believe that current delegate Andrea Harrison is enjoying that right now. She and I have had conversations where she really is enjoying her time.
Almost like a role reversal between you two as part of that.
Exactly. So. Not the same district, but the same roles being switched.
Well, great. Well, I thank you again for joining us today and getting to know a little bit more about Jolene Ivey. So we appreciate you being on Around the County. So.
Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you again for my guests. Today was Vice Chair Rodney Streeter from District 7 and Councilmember Jolene Ivey from District 5. While our positions on the field may be different, we all share the same goal: building a strong team and providing wins for Prince George's County. So your service to our community means great progress for the county, and so we appreciate you being here on Around the County. Again, this is a production of the Prince George's County Council. Thanks to our viewers for joining us. And please remember to stay connected with the Prince George's County Council at pgccouncil.us, and also connect with us on social media. Again, I'm your Council Chair, Todd Turner, and I'll be seeing you soon around the county.